Beep, 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 beep. Court the Edijester. How are we, people? Good to be speaking with you once again today. Now, those of you that are paying attention, Roger, pay attention at the back there. Right, those of you that are paying attention will know, excuse me, that this morning I was covering a case of lunacy in care homes in regards to pushing gender identity ideology and telling old people that they're, what sex they are. Can you imagine? I'm 87. What sex are you? Are you mad? There was a great scene in a film called And the Band Played On, in which is about the AIDS crisis, and they were trying to discover whether or not how it was being transmitted. And they asked this old guy who was in bed. This old guy was in bed and he was terribly ill, and his wife was sat there, and she didn't even realise that men can have sex together. It was a really interesting and fascinating insight. This is, now we've got nutters going in saying, hey, Moira, yeah? How old are you, Moira? 8. Yeah, what sex are you? Pardon? Nonsense, right? So I covered that this morning, and you may recall that it was from a group of loons over at the University of Kent, okay? University of Kent, right? The University of Kent, oops. And this is a great piece in the Times about Matt Goodwin, or Matthew Goodwin, Matt, I think he likes to be called Matt, who is a fellow Substacker. So I thought this was interesting because it follows on, because this is also the University of Kent, right? Left-wing groupthink is strangling universities, so count me out. Having watched free speech being marginalised by a narrow monoculture of over 2 decades, Matt Goodwin is stepping down from teaching students. Here's why. Oh, before that, Become a Warrior Teacher will start in November. Details going up shortly. Come and join us. If not, if you can buy me a coffee, super thanks, whatever it takes, please do help out. This summer, after more than 20 years of teaching and researching in Britain's universities, I decided to quit my full professorship. Matt continues. While I remain an honorary professor, I will no longer teach students or carry out my usual academic studies. This is the first September in 2 decades that I will not be welcoming first-year students onto campus. Why? ? The official story is that, like a rapidly growing number of universities in the country, the University of Kent, my academic home, is engulfed by a major financial crisis that has pushed it to the brink. I wonder if that's got anything to do with the fact that they're bothering old people about being look up at the queue. Possibly. Matt might tell us. Like the wider sector, Kent has been smashed by a toxic cocktail of a cost of living crisis, growing competition for undergraduate students, rising inflation, over-expansion, there's the big one, and a cap on student tuition fees. The £9,000 tuition fees, later raised to £9,250, that were introduced in 2012, are worth less than the £6,500 at today's values. All this has left 3 universities on the verge of complete collapse, while 40% are expected to run deficits this year. In response, Kent, like others, has been quickly slashing courses and encouraging academics such as me to take voluntary redundancy. I am one of about 50 academics to do so. Okay, keep it up. But if I'm being honest with you, my decision to step down as a full-time professor, as I explain in my forthcoming book, Bad Education, Matt's got a book coming up that'll be worth reading, has little to do with this financial crisis and much more to do with how several other factors collided to erode the quality of higher education, betray students, and make universities unpleasant places to work. I could point to the dumbing down of standards and rampant grade inflation I've witnessed over the last 20 years, like the fact that since 2010, the share of students in England graduating with first-class degrees has rocketed from 15% to 33%. This is interesting, because I was talking to somebody the other night who employs people, and he said that the standard of students has gone down. He finds it harder to find the good ones. I mean, this is an attack on meritocracy. It should be tougher to get first. I think that's the point. I could point to the disastrous rise of online or remote learning, which, especially since COVID, has killed attendance and intellectual life, undermining students' interpersonal and learning skills. Absolutely. And I would point to a wider problem these things reflect, which is how universities, I just want to go back there. Online learning. They mean reading, right? Most of it's just reading. And I can point to a wider problem that these things reflect, which is how universities have increasingly replaced the things they used to prioritise: intellectual rigour, hard work, exposing students to debate and ideas, even ones they find disagreeable, with an obsessive focus on student satisfaction. This is where, just to pull away from Matt there for a sec, this is where what's happening is that the university is going, hang on a bit, old fire, new game, new rules. The student is now the customer. Therefore, they look at student satisfaction as a measure of whether they're doing all right or not. I think it'd be better if they looked at student dissatisfaction. But the truth of the matter is they shouldn't be looking at that at all, right? Because they do what they do, the student turns up. If the student turns not happy, they can sod off. You know why? Because the students are the product. They're not the customer. We're the customer, the students are the product. And right now, many universities, including the University of Kent, are producing faulty products. As we can see by the ones from this morning who want to go around gender bothering patients, you know, with their look a bit cute nonsense, which we spoke about this morning. Matt then continues, but while all these things played a role in my decision, the real crisis that's unfolding on campus, the real rising number of academics are giving up on the university, is neither about finances or teaching. It's deeply political. Over the past 20 years, universities across the West have morphed into openly political and highly activist institutions. They are imposing a dogmatic worldview on their academies and students, enforcing a narrow groupthink, silencing dissenters and eroding the very things higher education is supposed to promote: truth, reasons, evidence, and wide-ranging debate. I've been saying this forever. Universities always lent left, of course, but since the 1960s in Britain, the ratio of left-wing to right-wing academics has spiralled from 3 to 1, closer to 10 to 1. In some college departments in America, there are 0 registered Republicans. This has produced an ideological monoculture on campus where only a very narrow set of ideas are allowed to dominate. Call it woke, cultural socialism, radical progressivism, whatever your preferred term, but what defines it is a total obsession with viewing racial, sexual and gender minorities as sacred, with wanting to transfer power and resources from the majority to minorities and sacrificing anything that gets in the way of this social justice, including free speech and scientific knowledge, which does not support the new narrative. So what Matt is saying here, I think in his own way, is what I would say to people I talk to, which is that universities have now become factories for cult members, because critical social justice is a cult. Okay? It's a cult. So read the rest of it. Matt's taken time to write it, and also you might want to check out his blog. I can understand why you're leaving, Matt. I think it's a shame. But you should go online and do some stuff, like I'm doing. Teach people. The normal folk. I think you'd really enjoy it, right? Because I really love working with the warrior teachers. But here we have it again. You see the universities are completely captured. I'm still waiting for somebody to do an expose on advanced HE and universities UK, but we'll see whether that happens, and I'll catch up with you later. Go read the article. Hey, let me know what you think in the comments. Bye-bye.